Just gotta start her up and then immediately back out because that catless life. Gotta watch your mirrors. Oh yeah, we're good. Good to go, and brakes squeak. I have been noticing that the pressure has gone down a little bit. Like that's why my compressor's already on, because this was all aired up whenever I parked it. So I may have a slight leak. I don't know. It might also just be from the cold weather, because you know, air pressure and stuff changes in the weather. If you guys missed it in the last vlog, I did the Lund N-Gauge. I did the tune with the lope tune, so that way at idle it would just be like loping along. Well, I put the normal tune back on, my normal Boss 302 intake tune, and that's why I'm not sitting here chugging along, just because it was driving kind of like poop, and I just didn't want to deal with it. You guys messaged me and commented down below on that video and said the exact same thing, and that's why you guys don't run it. So it's just a common thing. It's not the best to run on. It doesn't hurt the car, just doesn't make it as enjoyable to drive. So I just have it warming up on the normal tune. But we got to ship something out. One of you guys actually messaged me. You have an automatic and I have the manual, so I don't have the two little things for the JATO Performance. So I'm gonna ship those out to you. Dang it, I was trying to get that piece for the guy and I left it inside and I had to lock it. So I gotta turn it off because my key is connected and that sucks. So you guys are gonna get another cold start, or I guess it's a warm start. She's warmed up enough to get going. She's over 100 degrees, so I'll be happy with that. Shout out to my neighbor, got a C7. I'd race it. That would actually be a fun race for me. I wish I could line up with a stock, or not stock, but at least like a manual C7. I think that'd be a fun race to race like my car versus that. Although I know I have a few mods, just those cars are totally different. They're not even a comparable car to a Mustang. They're lighter, bigger motor, all that stuff. So it would just be a fun little race. Can I get a vanilla latte, venti, hot?
Of course, anything else?
Nope, that's gonna be it. Got a free coffee because the card machine thing, I guess, was taking so long that they just said screw it and gave me a free coffee. So that was cool. But we ran a couple errands. We got a few more to go, trying to beat the light. So we're going on a little cruise at sunset at 4 o'clock, which is kind of weird. Sunset at 4 o'clock. It really starts to throw off some of the video ideas because you only have so much sunlight. But we should have a good rip here onto the on-ramp. People are moving pretty quick and no one's in front of me. Give you guys a little exhaust. Do our daily 7,000. Oh, trailer, dude, come on. Traffic there. Oh, can you guys hear those brakes? Whew. Good little rush. Got a 7,500 RPM, probably like 7,300, just because I know the real RPMs lag slightly behind that. Smelling a little brakey up in here. I think I just cleared off some of the rust or whatever was on my brakes on that stop. One question I've been getting a ton is about wheel and tire fitment. You guys, that's probably like one of the top questions I get in my DMs is what wheels and tires am I running and what size do I run? A lot of them are on my old setup, which I'll throw up a picture here of my Verdes. I was static as well as bagged on those. So I've had this setup and a previous setup, and both you guys seem to really like. I mean, this one is slightly more aggressive and set more for bags, but the other one was pretty sick because it looked really meaty. Whatever your preference is, I'm gonna give you guys my secret sauce and what my setup was. So that way, if you want to, you can replicate it perfectly. Have the risk of rubbing your rear fender. If you guys are really slammed or you have a heavy load in the back and you hit a big enough dip and your panhard bar is not perfectly centered, you can rub your fender. So be careful, that's my caution on this, is it can rub your fender. So without further ado, let me get to the specs. My old Verdes fronts were 20 by 9 plus 32. So that's slightly less aggressive than what I rock right now. That plus 32 is the offset. If you do not want a curved or like a stretched tire look, which is what I have currently to be able to fit with the bags, I would put a 255, 35, 20. That would be a perfectly flat, would be perfectly in line with the wheel. Let's give her some beans. Little bumpy. Now in the rear, I was running a 20 by 10.5 plus 45. So that's that rim setup for the Verdes in the rear. Now on that, I ran a 305, 35, 20. It would rub. That was my warning, is that it would rub. However, it looked super meaty. If you had the right lowering, I mean, it looked really good. And I think maybe a 295, 35 would have probably been a better bet on that size wheel. And it probably would have looked more, I don't know, still looked meaty, but it would have just given you that slight stretch to where it may not have rubbed into the fender. By the way, you do need to keep in mind that S197 fitment is different than S550. S550s can swallow a 305. Like my buddy Anthony, he has my old wheels on his S550. Dude, he went to a 315 and it's still tucking. So that's something you gotta keep in mind. S550 fitment is completely different than the S197. Literally, I think 2 days ago was the shortest day of the year, and it makes sense because the sun is literally about to set. This sun is so harsh. I apologize for the light. Don't cut out. Found this nice little shady spot. Now, as far as my current wheel and tire setup goes, I did this for a reason, and it took some experimenting. It took some trial and error, and I looked up everything online that I could as far as information on wheel and tire fitment, but I honestly don't think anyone's gone to this extent and this aggressive. So this is, I guess, the only person in the world that I know of with this type of wheel and tire fitment. Now, this isn't everyone's cup of tea. Like I said, there's other ones where it's more meaty. However, this one, I did the stretch tire look because I wanted perfect fitment when I aired out. Right up front, we have, again, a 20 by 9, and this one is a plus 20. So it's more aggressive. It's stuck out a little bit more, and you can tell it's really sinking in my lug nuts in there. Hopefully you guys can see that. And what I'm running is a 245, 35, 20. So the reason why I did this, when I originally did this, I had a 265, 35, and it, when I aired out, would bulge my wheel, or at least it would bulge my fender. And I was really scared of that. It would make popping noises when I aired out, and I didn't like that. You see a little bit of stretch, which stretches that little camber in, I guess. I don't know how to describe it other than it just looks stretched. It's not totally flush on the rim. So it's got a little bit of stretch on it, but it will fit perfectly into that fender. And another big thing for me was that when I drive around town and I give it a little bit of beans around a turn or something, I didn't want to hear as I turn, you know, how it's kind of rubbing up against the fender. I still have my fender liner, so my engine bay stays clean. Like I really did take my time on that fitment. So 20 by 9 plus 20 with a 245, 35, 20 tire, and that's what you'll get. I went for more aggressive concave. Now, my Verdes were concave, but they weren't this concave. The concave comes from the offset, and I went pretty extreme on this. So these are half an inch wider. These are 20 by 11, but plus 50. So not only are they wider, I think they stick out a little bit more. So what that means is I had to go smaller on the tire. And this is a 295, 35, 20. And it's kind of funny how perfectly those lined up where I could point at them, because usually those things are like randomly around the wheel. But that's a 295, 35, 20 on a 20 by 11 plus 50. And it gives you some really deep concave, and I actually don't rub. This tire setup, even though it seems more aggressive on the wheel, actually doesn't rub nearly as much as that 305, just because that wheel and tire setup was just so chunky. It looked awesome, but man, was it chunky. I mean, literally at this height with people and everything in the car, like stuff in my trunk for cameras, it doesn't rub. And that's pretty crazy. So that's my wheel and tire fitment on the rear. And on the front, I keep it a little higher. I mean, this isn't like low boy lifestyle, whatever. but it's also because I want to be able to steer and not rub. Because the air ride has more presets, I have a low setting where I can ride and just not turn as aggressively, but it'll be like super low. But I just don't drive like that just because I don't want to tear up my fenders if I don't have to. I mean, that's why I did air ride. I didn't want to tear up the underside of my car, tear up my lip, tear up my fenders, so that's why I did that. But let me show you guys whenever it airs out what the fitment is really like. This is why I went with the wheel setup I did. Now, as you can tell here, I've got barely a finger gap, and that, I mean, it's pretty dirty, but that is as low as I can go, and it's tucking. It sort of sits on the tire, like it's for sure sitting on the tire. I cannot stick my finger in there anymore, and that's pretty much as aggressive as I could get. Could put a little spacer and get it more out. Do I really want to do that? No. It might mess up everything, and I just don't want to ruin these fenders. I don't want to repaint them or buy new fenders. I'm just gonna leave it. Now in the rear, this is as low as it can go, and it's pretty much sucking in the tire. Like it kind of sits there for a second and then boom, sucks in the tire. So I dialed in the rear fitment. Oh dude, just stepped in that. That's terrible. Hopefully that's not like poop or something. Dang it, gotta clean that off before I hop in the car. Some of you fitment guys may be like, well, why isn't this tucking all the way to the rim? Because that's really what we're looking for here. Well, I pretty much dialed in the best fitment in the rear for a Mustang. S197 Mustangs are kind of funky in the sense that they have the solid rear axle, and you'd literally have to notch out some of the subframe to push it any lower. Like I am sitting on the subframe right now, as max as it can go. My bump stop, which is this little rubber piece that's supposed to help whenever you bottom out your suspension, it's usually like this long, right? I'd say like 4 inches. Mine's about that big. And even still right now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it is squished like a marshmallow. Let me see if I can show you guys. Kind of see back there, but that thing is squished like a marshmallow. It's so tiny back there. I hope this kind of helped clear up some of the questions people had about fitment. It sits all the way on the ground. It doesn't rub in the rear now. Even whenever I have people in the car, I can drive without rubbing in the front. Sometimes I do feel a little bit of that sidewall flex just because it's a stretched tire. However, I do like it a lot more other than just rubbing away on my fenders and the paint, because on my 305s, actually it was starting to kind of chip in the rear, but I caught it early enough, touched it up, and tried to like seal it in to where it wouldn't spread. Yeah, that's my wheel and tire fitment setup. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope this answered a lot of your guys' questions, because I know you guys were bombarding me with all the questions about my wheel and tire setup. If you guys have any more questions for my car or my thoughts on things, leave them down in the comments below. I will make videos on them. Trust me, ask a couple of the people that I've already made videos for. Literally, you guys DM me and I make videos on it, just because I feel like instead of answering one-on-one, it might help a really large community of Mustang owners to dial this in. And honestly, I think this fitment setup would work on any 05 through 14. Because it's all the same frame and same setup in the chassis. It's an S197 chassis. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up right here. If you did enjoy it, then please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. So I was not playing. This crap is not getting on my freaking floor mats. That stuff is sticky, so we're rolling barefoot. Honestly, driving barefoot is really not that bad. I feel like you get a pretty good feel for it. That's probably why driving shoes are like really thin. I was not gonna let that stuff get all over my freaking floor mats. That would suck. It's like gum in the freaking carpet. That's like the worst thing you can ever have happen. Thank you guys for watching the video. Now I'm gonna end it. See you guys next time.